This is Comic Picks by the Glick.
Hey, I'm your host, Jason Glick.
Hey, Jason, what do you have on tap for us today?
Well, we're going back to that inexhaustible well of content that is zombies. Specifically, zombies that, infest a superhero universe. Now, Marvel Comics, arguably did this, like to great commercial success. It's like, and even like critical success to a certain extent for the first couple volumes with Marvel Zombies, where they got, like Walking Dead's Robert Kirkman and and artist Sean Phillips to do like, hey, what happens when like the zombies take over the Marvel universe? And that first volume was a lot of fun. It had like those like, classic homage themed covers from Arthur Sudam, and it has like some fun like nasty ideas about what happens when like the zombies take over the Marvel universe, and what happens when the bad guys win, and they eat the Silver Surfer and they eat Galactus as well. And that lasted. I was on board for like the first three volumes physically, and also like Army of Darkness versus Marvel Zombies, because I think I got that for cheap on a sale and whatnot. But basically, it begs the question of like, hey, Marvel did this kind of storyline about what happens when like their universe gets taken over by zombies. Well, what's DC's answer? For that, we had to wait 13 years in order to find out, because it wasn't until oh, it's like what are we talking about here? Um, when when was when was this? Oh, yeah, it's like 2019 when it's like when writer Tom Taylor and artist Trevor Hairsine gave us DCeased, which on one hand, it's like regardless of how the series turned out, that is a great A-list pun title that they deserve credit for in terms of like just saying like, hey, what's the name of the series for like what happens when zombies take over the DC universe? DCeased. Excellent work, guys. I love you for it. But how did this come about? Well, the series opens up with like Justice League handing Darkseid his ass and getting him to promise he's never gonna come back to Earth again, and Darkseid saying, "Sure, fine, losers. I'm not gonna come back because I already got what I came for." And we find out that what he came for was actually Vic Stone, the cyborg, because it turns out that the apocalyptic technology that he used to become that houses his cyborgness. It's like that apparently like, is key to unlocking the full potential of the anti-life equation. But when Darkseid decides to combine this with part of the Black Racer, the New God's answer to death, well, shit gets crazy, and we get a version of the anti-life equation that runs rampant throughout the cosmos, like turning Darkseid into like a mindless version of death, and when Cyborg is like sent back to Earth like in a last ditch effort, well, he winds up infecting everyone over there. By the end of the first issue, over 600 million people have been infected with this new version of the anti-life virus, and hey, it's and the life is well on the way to like ceasing like in the DC universe. Now, I can't say that like the first volume did like a lot of stuff like shockingly different as far as like zombie stories go, but it's like but it certainly worked as a like big propulsive superhero blockbuster event. It's like it just showed like a lot of like familiar characters like getting murdered. Like I got probably not spoiling anything to say that Batman gets turned at the end of the first issue, and when you're wondering like, oh, wait a second, Batman gets turned. Well, what's going to happen? Like Batman solves everything. Batman always wins. Well, yeah, that's kind of what Taylor was thinking. I'm sure Taylor was thinking at the beginning of this series, and that's why he killed Batman, just so like everyone could wonder like what's going to happen now that Batman isn't around to save us. I mean, yeah, he does use Victor Freeze's freeze suit to survive like partway into the second issue, but there you go. So, but basically, like the first volume is like a big like fun blockbuster superhero event. I mean, it doesn't do like a lot of stuff like new, but it does like showcase one of like the big things that the series does well. It's basically showing you what kind of like like new connections are forged when things go to hell in the DC universe, such as So like, who becomes the new Green Lantern of Earth when Hal Jordan gets turned? What does it take in order to get Lex Luthor to realize that his feud with Superman is ultimately irrelevant? Oh, and also just why are the Flash? Why do the Flashes have to be quarantined? Like, like for this story. Oh, and just what the hell happened to the Martian Manhunter? So there you go. It's like I'm rereading it. It's like I guess it's perfect. It's perfectly enjoyable, and it's got some like great, fantastic art from series artist Trevor Hairsine, who illustrates all of the majority of all of the main series in the it's like in the DC series. Even though he does have to have some help. It's like in part of like in parts of the first volume from James Herron, Neil Edwards, and also from other artists like in in subsequent volumes. But the first volume does a good job of setting you up selling you on the idea of like what happens to the DC universe and why should I care about it. It takes like this like really dark premise and like brings some like genuine superhero cleverness out of it, and I really enjoyed it. I mean, I didn't quite enjoy the fill-in issue of A Good Day to Die, which basically kind of read like Taylor was checking off a bunch of questions about hey, well, why don't they do this in order to it's like in order to like solve the superhero apocalypse. Well, it's like then he offers like the reason. Oh, here's why. It's like yeah, it's all right, but I did like the bits where Derek Robertson illustrated like John Constantine trying to survive, and like those kind of remind me like the oh man, it's like yeah, it's like the good old like Vertigo heyday, and not for nothing, like he and Taylor did team up to do a proper Hellblazer story with Rise and Fall like a couple of years later. But the first DCeased did a good job of like it's like setting out the idea of like what happens to the DC universe when it's invaded by zombies, and why should I care about it? But and also it's like it was like a huge commercial success as well. Like the first issue debuted at #1 on the charts, and it's like and DC apparently liked it so much that they decided to commission a digital series to follow it up with. That would be Hope at World's End. Hope at World's End is basically kind of just fill in stuff, just telling you just what happened to Jimmy Olsen, like during all this stuff. What like gives you more like data about how Damien the like it's like dealt with things as well, like how he had to save his mom as well. It's like and oh what happened when Black Adam was turned as well, and also when Detective Chimp encounters these super pets, which was easily the best story of that volume. But overall, it's like Hope at World's End was just kind of like, oh well, this is a bunch of other stuff that happened, like in between like issues of DCeased. So and it's not bad. Taylor is too good of a writer to like to phone in like like something that is terrible, but it just kind of felt like hey, it's like oh I've got ideas on what's going to happen here, but it just kind of feels like we're just kind of like just killing time, like like between stories as well, which it's kind of disappointing. But the whole World's End is not, I guess you could say, if it even if it's the worst of these stories, it's not really bad, which it's really kind of a good sign as far as how things go. That's especially true though of the other follow up they did to DCeased. In This is like the first proper marketable follow up they did. This is like a 3-issue exercise miniseries called Unkillables, and this was a lot of fun. Basically, well, DC showcased what all the heroes were doing and maybe some of the villains. Unkillables all about the anti-heroes and the villains, because because it chooses to focus on like guys like Slade Wilson, aka Deathstroke, and how he gets turned initially, but then like his healing factor basically like brings him back. Now he's got to figure out just what I'm going to do with like with my ability to survive this stuff. And like so naturally he goes after his daughter Ravager, but also like in the mix is Jason Todd, aka Red Hood, like the Robin who was crowbarred to death by the Joker. And even though like when he finds out what happened to Batman, so he gives a proper fitting like headstone eulogy to him, and also just meets like does his best to rescue other surviving members of that family, including Cassandra Cain and second Commissioner Gordon. It's a fun bit when he tells Gordon like, dude, I know you knew who Batman was all this time. You don't need to pretend anymore. And Gordon's right, yeah. So like that's kind of like the charm of this series is that Taylor finds like these like these like logical connections you make in like DC continuity. It's like the fact that like this is like a series where you realize that hey, it's like Commissioner Gordon always knew Batman was Bruce Wayne, but he just pretended otherwise. This is the kind of series where you can admit that stuff. And it's like and what else? It's like and just like have fun with it. Oh, and also constantly dunk on Batman's emotional unavailability, because that's also like a through line for this series as well. But but Unkillables also has fun with like how the like how all the all the surviving villains on Earth are trying to like hide out on an island led by Vandal Savage, who's like, hey, I'm a caveman. I'm an immortal caveman who's lived through multiple extinction events. So it's like I know how to survive this stuff. And so you figure that okay, he's got his plan and all, but well, it's like it goes wrong in like darkly comic fashion, and it leads to like the like a lot of the other surviving villains, including the Creeper, Solomon Grundy, Bane, Mirror Master, just trying to like like it's like save a bunch of like kids that like it's like that the that Red Hood, or sorry, Jason Todd, Ravager, and Commissioner Gordon and Deathstroke have just are taken care of. But overall, it's like Unkillables is probably the most purely enjoyable of these stories, because it's just like a bunch of like bastards just like realizing that okay, well, it's like we sure we're like in it for ourselves, but we don't want like kids like to die for like what's going on here. And there's also like that fun cleverness as well, especially when you find out like who the narrator of this is, and just why she's been like why she's been MIA in her superhero identity for most of the story. It's good fun, and even if like you need like the context of DCeased in order to like properly enjoy this miniseries, I think that's an accessible cost as well. But as far as like things went, like the actual proper follow up to DCeased was Dead Planet, because at the end of the first series, well, everyone had left, or all the humans that they were able to get out, like they left on two arcs to Earth 2, and they were just and everyone was just like was resigned to the fact that hey, this is our new life. Everyone on Earth is like gone or just about to die, so we're just gonna make our new life on this planet. And we've got our own like Justice League. We got like John Kent like taking over Superman, Damian Wayne as the new Batman, Cassie as the new Wonder Woman. And it's like there's plenty of like we got like plenty of superheroes like to protect us as well, and everything's going fine up until they get a SOS from from Cyborg on Earth, because at the end of the first volume we learned that he found out that the cure for the anti-life plague was in himself. But it wasn't until he finally discovered the secret tracer that Bruce Wayne Batman had put into him that that was the that he was able to like modify it, and then just send like a signal to like the remaining superheroes on on Earth 2. It's like that hey, what, I'm trying to like let you know like there's like a it's like there's a cure here. It's like, and I can save everyone. So gets a bunch of superheroes to come back and save this and try and find out the cure for this for this plague, which they do, but it also requires like a lot of interaction with the new gods It's like, and also like the Green Lantern Corps. Oh, and well, it turns out that even though like while the plague is continuing to spread like on Earth, well, it turns out there's another issue that's requiring their attention as well. That is the one of the DC's demons, Trigon. Well, he's apparently decided to like use this all this issue, all these play like all like this whole undead plague to just make his stand on Earth. So the only person standing between him and domination of the Earth are the Shadow Pact, which a bunch of like DC's magic users like Ragman, Blue Devil, Zatanna, Detective Chimp, and John Constantine. Now, longtime readers of the blog will probably realize that like when I see John Constantine like employed in a like DC Universe story, it's like I tend to roll my eyes and just go no, no, no. But I do have to give Taylor and Hairsine credit here for probably delivering what is the best version of like John Constantine in a superhero DC Universe story, because Constantine, he's clever here. He is devilishly clever here, and he is also a right goddamn bastard as well. It's enough to make me remember that when Constantine like was originally created, he was part of the DC universe. I mean, like I'm sure like Alan Moore is like cursing my name for invoking like, hey, it's like remember when he created John Constantine, he was part of like that legendary like, run of Swamp Thing and all. But this really does recall that business, in the sense that John was like required to be like kind of an asshole in order to like save the world and all, and even more so here, because like he does a lot of nasty stuff that is perfectly in character. And I gotta admit, like his ultimate end, and like how he's like manages to like solve everything is really in character, even if we're talking in his like like ver, you know Vertigo incarnation, which I own all 300 issues of. So there you go. That's saying something right here. And like I said, I really enjoyed Dead Planet. It did, it's like it basically did everything that DCeased did, but it did it a lot better. Well, okay, not a lot better, but just better in general. It's like instead of it gave us more like clever like versions of like superheroes in like a end of the world scenario, and it had like like lots of more great art from Hairsine, who illustrated like just like pretty much like the entirety of the series, which I think that did he do the entire series for this one? Yeah, this is the one volume that Hairsine did the entirety of the art for. Yeah, they had multiple inkers, but hey, that's what counts here. But overall, it's like Dead Planet basically show that hey, there's actually life to this concept, and it also ended on a note that basically lets you know that hey, things are going to be all right, even if there were a couple plot threads left open for a maybe a concluding volume as well. That's what we have here with the reason I'm doing this podcast, and that's this final volume. Like, well, DCeased was 6 issues, Dead Planet was 7 issues, War of the Undead Gods is 8 issues, and basically it's like the biggest one in terms of scope and it's like in action. And even if I didn't quite like this as much as Dead Planet, I guess that John Constantine effect like goes a little ways, I really it's like I did enjoy this one, and it basically kind of continues on like the series trend of like finding like clever uses for like DC heroes and all. It's like in this end of the world fashion, because not only does it find a way to to bring back Superman, it's like it also finds a way to like give you like a much darker take on what happened to his cousin, like Supergirl, and what happened when she was sent away from her world, and when she came back, the absolute wrong time in the wrong place. But basically, it's like like this series basically picks up with the idea that while the undead plague has basically been contained to Earth for the first 2 volumes, now things are getting even worse, like on a cosmic scale. Basically, the like after a dark side like murdered his planet of apocalypse in the first volume, well, he did not rest on his laurels there. He basically went to it's like the planet of the new of the new gods. It's like and just turned like went and fought and turned them as well. And also, as we find out early on, that when it's like when he starts attacking the planet of Korrigar, home to like the Yellow Lantern Corps head Sinestro. Well, Sinestro is basically real like all about just like, yeah, I'm just gonna kill my planet in order to save everyone. Well, things go badly for him, and at the end of the issue, we're left with Yellow Lantern Dark Side, which is kind of a cool and crazy and also kind of scary concept for this for the story. So, and the series in the final arc is all about just going bigger and crazier than when things have gone before. Because hey, you kind of wonder like, well, what happened to what about Mr. Mxyzptlk, the like 6th-dimensional imp who was always bedeviling Superman? He's in here too. But what about the Spectre? Like this the incarnation of God's vengeance in the DC universe. Oh, he's here too. Oh, and what about the main man, Lobo? Lobo's here too, and his obviously his superhuman healing factor just makes the infection like a non-issue with him. But he's still going to negotiate for like one planet to give him 100 years of hedonism, creatively managed hedonism, so he doesn't get bored. To to manage to in order to save the universe. So yeah, there's a lot of like fun, clever stuff here. It's like, and I liked how how Taylor managed it over the course of this volume. I do kind of wish that Hairsine had been given like more time to illustrate a lot of this volume, because well, he does like especially good chunky work as he has done in previous volumes. Um, his regular fill-in collaborator Neil Edwards, was only able to work so far in here, and they also had to bring in another guy, Lucas Mayer, who does solid work. No lie here, but it's like obvious when you see that that he's taken over for Hairsine and Edwards. Oh, and also there's the bit when we find out that, oh hey, it's like, hey, like the like Brainiac is here, and he's it's like put a bunch of like civilizations into bottles. Oh, and he's also got his hands on Candor as well. So you can probably imagine that where things are going with the Candor's involvement as well. And that's kind of predictable. And then there's also like the mid-act reveal of like the real monster behind this, like a version of like one of the Greek gods of darkness. Which on one hand, like I can understand why you felt the need to go bigger and badder there, but it kind of feels kind of like arbitrary as well. Just I don't feel that this guy had the like the gravitas, it's like of like other DC villains, like in order like to be like the really big bad of this arc. I mean, it's like I can understand like like the need to go bigger and badder here, but it doesn't quite work. I will say though that the revelation of like who takes over the Spectre mantle here is well done, and I do like Damien's decision at the end of the series, which is it's like Batman as bastard, but also just doing like the best thing he knows how for the like for the greater good. Even if he's just like taking matters into his own hands and just like robbing everyone else of their agency and in doing so. And and also I will say it's enough to make you kind of forgive his overall take on Damian Wayne, which is probably a bit more touchy feely than the like than the arrogant smartass he's been portrayed in like the majority of the comics that I've read featuring the character. But that's kind of a minor thing. I did enjoy the, this final volume, and it's got enough spectacle to make me like forgive its rush to just like give us like big superhero action more than anything else, because it does actually try and touch on like ideas that are like surprisingly like relevant to like a zombie movie story, in the sense that what happens when you realize that, oh wait, I've killed a bunch of people, but there actually was a cure all along, even if I didn't know like that was going to happen. That's an issue that's brought up here, but it's not like really addressed in any like significant fashion. So it's like there's a story that's I'm sure there's a story that's like been told about that, but DCeased is not that story. So you're just kind of like looking for if you're looking for a story that kind of like nods in the direction of that kind of depth, for a story that has like generally really solid art throughout, one that like finds like clever takes on like like DC heroes as they face the apocalypse, and one that just delivers like grand superhero spectacle in the face of the apocalypse, then yeah, I really do recommend like the series, and it definitely benefits from having a solid singular writer's vision over the course of these volumes, like these three main volumes and two tiny volumes, one of which is definitely superior to the other. So yeah, like you're looking for like DC's answer to Marvel zombies. Yeah, I'd say that they actually this is like a solid cross counter against Marvel right here. So yeah, if you want, I mean, you should obviously buy both, or at least just buy the first volume of Marvel Zombies, but buy also like all of DCeased, and especially like Unkillables, because this is like good superhero zombie fun in the
So
end.
if you like zombies and you like DC, then it should be a win for
There's plenty of life to this particular like subgenre.
if you like zombies, maybe you get both. You get both sides of the coin.
That's really the correct answer here.
Yeah, exactly. So, do you know what you're going to be talking about next time?
Assuming everything goes right, Christine will be back to talk to us about the one comic that's been produced about um, arguably the best current Star Trek series, Lower Decks.
Awesome. All right. We'll talk to you next time on Comic Picks by the Glick.
All right, laters.